Hi, this is Bea from Sorcery Soap, and as you can see here, I have quite a lot of books. I happen to like books, I like making books, and I like writing books. So we're going to make books in soap. And you can see I've attached together. And these books, these embellishments, I think this one particular here, I think is from 2015. So that's quite a long time. I just liked really the look of it, which we can make something like that today too. I want to show you how to make the open face book and make the closed face book, and how that the process of it is, with the little turned up pages. And then we'll also paint them so that they kind of come alive once you paint them. And yeah, so that's what we're going to do, make some books today. Okay, so we're going to make the interior of the book first, and I wanted to show you. So I have, now you can hand cut all this. You just have to have a sort of template and measurement to figure out how big the inside is versus how big the outside is, because we're going to make the cover and the interior pages. So this is the set that I have, sort of my go-to standard set. It's called a Deco, 24 cutters. You can get this on Amazon probably. They're the home of all things, you know. And so these two shapes is the largest and the smallest, and you can see the pages fit in because we're going to make this cover and then it'll fold over, and we want to have a little bit of space. So, and then this one also does this shrunk. I'm pretty sure this was the right one. Let me see here. Yeah, more than likely, because it's bended and whatever, so we're going to use this anyway. So first let's make the interior pages. Now I usually cut through plastic. The problem with cutting through plastic is that you're going to get a pillow, and we don't want a pillow top. It rounds the edges essentially. It's not going to do me any good to continue if I see that lint, because it'll just get embedded more so. And it's just, could be lint from my hands, from the towel, it could be a million things. Could be lint from the air. And I'm going to have to take a microscope eventually. I get so obsessed with this lint. Okay, there we go. Okay. So the books, you can see, let me show you here. These I want to be about that thick. So that's good for those. So let's cut a couple of those. And yes, it does stick inside, but we want that square edge for the pages. Okay. You know, that's the thing, like YouTube used to be a place where you could watch people actually do things like in real world, and they just do it. They weren't, you know, great at filming or doing any of that stuff, and they never made mistakes. You know, they made tons of mistakes in the beginning. Everybody just showed what they were doing because that's what YouTube was originally about. And it grew into this sort of thing, and you know, I'm not one to not want to change. I definitely don't mind changing, especially if it's for the benefit of things. But, you know, it makes it, you know, there's all these polished YouTube things. And what happened for me about that is the more I focused on trying to be a good camera person, or not do my work of it, and just the lighting and the laundry list of the keywords, and trying to, you know, collaborate with other people and do all this stuff because I saw all these other people doing this and having success, and I wanted to be successful at what I was doing. So I tried to do some of those things in this last 2 years, and it's just, it hasn't made my soul happy, for sure. Doing the work, I'm that person that does the work of it and then wants to show you how the work is done. And, you know, if I were really sort of wealthy, I guess, I don't know how else to say that, but if I were rich, I could hire somebody to help me or do some of that stuff, but I can't. You know, that's not who I am. I'm the person who actually thinks of new ideas, brings them to the table, and then shows you how it's done. And so I can't subscribe to any of that tomfoolery. And, you know, I don't also subscribe to the idea that you should run other people down in order to make yourself look better. That doesn't seem very beneficial to anybody. And trust me, I resist that urge, but I do resist it. So there you go. So my lighting isn't like other things, but this is actually what I'm doing. I mean, this is how it works. So here we go. Now we're going to do some blue. This is the blue, and I think this is, I can't even come up with the idea. I can't remember, but if I can remember what color this is, I'll put it on the screen, but I definitely know this is Lollipop. This is one of my favorites. Okay. So this will be easier because I'm only going to use this for the cover for both of those books. It's one of my favorite colors. I like the really bright colors. Well, not always, but I tend to, when I'm making things like this, I tend to gravitate. I don't know if you can see how iridescent this is. There's like purple hues in there, and it's just really lovely. And the quality of the soap dough is just ridiculously good. Look at that. No lumps, no nothing. A little bit right here, but that was the edge. That's fair enough, right? But the quality of it. Now, I did cultivate it, but I rarely make soap dough anymore. My partner makes soap dough. My guy makes soap dough. And he does a really, really great job at it. And it is a fickle thing to make extraordinarily well, and we seem to be managing it every week. So okay. So now here's the thing too with using soap dough and cornstarch. The more you put cornstarch into it, you're just going to get little pockets of white. It's going to start looking, it's not going to be as pretty as this, we'll put it that way. So this is my awareness about it, that I want to do it and do it right the first time, and be willing to throw away my soap dough if I don't do it correctly, because it's not, you're going to make mistakes. I've made many mistakes, but I've learned that if I want a certain texture to my creations, that this is the texture I want. And so I want to handle it as little as possible, put as little soap dough or cornstarch in it as possible, and just try to get it correctly the very first time. And like I said, be willing to throw it out. I've thrown out more stuff, and granted, we can't always do that. And then, but that's, anyway, we can't always do that. So I'll not go on about that. There. Ah, see, look at that. Now I'm going to mix a lot of that cornstarch in there, and it'll come off for sure, but I don't want to keep doing this. Like, I don't want to have to roll this whole thing out again. So, and then of course you can feel how thick it is. Okay. Okay, so let's do this first. Got that. Get my hands clean here. And I just used a dirty brush. See, it had gold in it, gold mica in there. That's what I get. I get that. Okay. So I just painted it. Ugh, a little bit too much, apparently. There. There's a hole in there anyway. That's okay. Okay, so we just about guess where the middle is. This is not the proper tool, which I will get it in a second. And I can see a lint. Okay, where's my... There. And I can see another lint right here. So even though, see, I can smooth that and fix that, no problem. Plus, it doesn't, they don't need to be perfect. Some of these I like to be pretty perfect. So I just bent it up like this, which that could be a little bit better apparently. See, I need my right tool for the job. And I want the cover to stick out underneath of it just a bit. So that's okay. There. And then of course you can flip the corners up a little bit. And see, I probably should have did that first, didn't I? Let's see, where's my examples? No, I don't have those pages in there. Okay, that's all right. So to score these, I should have done it first, but that's okay. So there we go. And then I want them to lay a little bit flatter. Yeah, I think that is the same size. A little bit flatter so that they don't crack or pop off or anything when I put them on soap. And then I'll show you how to paint those. So let's get on with this. So this one's a little bit easier. Doesn't look like it was exact, huh? And then there's that. I want to sort of seat that back in here so that sticks. You can see the water kind of coming out. Now is probably not the time. I'm going to let these dry before I push in and make the spines. Look how thin I made those. That's pretty clever. Oops, a little bit fuzz. So this here, I want to wait for just a second before I do that. So let's set that aside and keep making these. And they're not so, see how it's starting to dry? Then it's like, it's less sticky too. That's very helpful. Now, I learned my lesson, but I still need the tool. So we want to make some page lines here. I want to. I do not have a mouse in my pocket today. Okay. It's too much water, by the way, right there. That's too much. Let's take some of that off. Okay. So if I want to make my lines for pages on the top and the bottom, oops. Let's set this where it's a little, there we go. That one already has a line. For some reason, when you pull it off, it leaves that. Let's see, silly little things. And the thing with this is you have to do this one right away. You can't let it set because, see, yeah, this is a much better tool than that little wooden. Because if you let it set, you'll crack it. It won't. Somehow I got paint or something on there. And this little crack here, right here, can smooth that out. Because as soon as it starts to dry, you're going to get little cracks, especially bending it this thin, like that. And we can make some bookmarks on here too. See, I can see a little crack there. Oop. Just because it doesn't go in any particular direction doesn't mean either to give it up, you know, just keep moving forward with it. Okay. Now I want this a little bit flatter. You can see here I didn't seat that as nicely as I could have. Like here, I was going to say, I'm not going to give this up though. There. There. And they'll start to come alive when you paint them too. A little bit of mica, just a little touch of those little details actually are really important. And for making things look, I don't know, just that one little step more, you know. I think I'll make more blue books than pink ones. I really like the blue ones. those be for a second. Do a couple more of these. Oh, wrong one. I just grabbed the wrong one. That was the wrong one. So we need this. Because this will all, this soap dough just sitting here like this will start to dry out pretty quickly. So see how this is starting to crack here? It's all fixable. Just a little bit of water heals it quite well, and I can start to see that iridescence in it. That's really nice. Okay, so this might be dry enough to do that with. So we want to create a spine on it. So instead of dragging it, you just push into it and sort of rock it back and forth so that you get a nice even spine on there like that. And then, let's see if I have my tool. Handy dandy, my handy dandy little tool. So the other thing I did on these, I put these little details here. Oh, nice, soap on there. Apparently I didn't clean it before I put it away. So you put the tool into that, and then we'll see if this is ready to do, because you can tell how soft it is. So there's a fine line between, let me try this one. This one might be better. Yeah, that's good. So if you wait too long to do this, if you do it too soon, it'll be sticky and it'll just come out all gunky, right? Like here, I'll show you. Like this is now, and you can see all the cornstarch getting mixed into it and making all those little holes and discoloring it in that capacity. I mean, you can just see that happening. That's why I said you want to try and do it first, you know, as correctly as you can the first time. I mean, you're going to have practice. So now that this is exposed, that there's water again exposed to it, it's not dried, because the outside, this is dried. You can see how like that creates that sort of behavior. And so all you have to do is let it dry just a bit and then push into it. You don't drag it, you don't move it around, just push into it to make a depression on it. And it's just a little tiny detail. And usually what I do is I make everything and then I come back to them. See this right here? I don't like that. The little crease in there. That also I do not like. Let's fix that. Okay. And this might be a little bit too soft to do. I'll leave that for a second more. Anyway, so where's my tool? Oh, and then just push into it, barely making an indent in there, and pull out. And then I fill it with gold. This was like, yeah, a very late night. I remember doing these. I was like, yeah. But you could fill it with gold and paint it. Mica is really hard to get very specific. It's not like watercolors or acrylics or anything like that. You can't really get it specific. So let's finish these, because see if I have enough of this to do 1, 2, 3. Yep, I do. 4. Now I can use this scrap soap dough for something else, but definitely can't use it for the cover of the books, because I'll show you here in a second. So now it's got cornstarch in it, and you can see how it's starting to look. So it's certainly usable. You can wash with it, all that stuff. A lot of this stuff, like when it gets to this degree, I don't even keep it. I just either throw it away, use it for things that aren't going to be specifically, you know, needed to be neat and tidy. And yeah, you can mix it in. See, it's mixing in for sure. And it's not ideal in my opinion. And it starts to get a different consistency that I no longer think is ideal. So, but see, yeah, you can mix it in and it'll eventually be okay, but not for the kind of stuff that I want to do. So that goes into inferior pile. Maybe I can use it for an embed or something. like a little, these aren't embeds, these are embellishments. There's a difference. And it helps to determine, you know, an embellishment goes on top of something. It's like a bedazzle. An embed goes inside something. So, oh, I had a little piece here. Yeah, and these could be made into soap cookies as well, too, because you just roll, you know, mix it. You've seen me maybe do that with a bunch of different colors and mix those together, and it won't matter. Won't matter. It's not like it's bad soap dough. It's just not as good for this application. Well, I have a little ding in my thing there. Okay. And, you know, just try not to handle things any more than you have to, I guess, is what I'm saying. The minute you see a crack, too, try to address it and just heal it right up. That way it'll dry smooth. So 2 more. Okay, good. And most of this is really about the consistency of the soap dough to start with, and then the steps that you take in order to make sure that things don't crack, or, you know, however that is, you know, when to apply water, all that. At what point, you know, do you assemble it together and put it together, and at least that's been my experience. And the constant battle of lint. It's ridiculous. I've tried lint-free cloths. First of all, they don't make them very big, and they're totally annoying to use. I've tried a host of things. The one thing that I know that works, I'll tell you right now, that works, even though I think my hands are lint-free. I've wiped my hands, I have clean cloths, I use clean cloths every project, all this stuff. The thing that I know that works absolutely 100% is before I start using any kind of white soap dough, or light colored soap, yellow would do the same process, is I take a ball of soap and roll it around on my hands, and then see, in everything I thought my hands were perfectly lint free, it'll reveal every little piece of lint, and then I just toss that away. It doesn't have to be a big ball of soap, but just a little bit. And we'll make some bookmarks for these too. Oh, I just cracked it right there. I'll make some bookmarks and show you how to paint them. Okie doke. Okay, so now we're going to paint these books. And I thought I'll paint them first and then put the bookmark on top of it, this case, because I didn't make the bookmark mostly. So, but I wanted to get this squared away for you so you can see the whole process of it. And here's a great reason why. See, you could see all that in there. That's not good. Let's give it a little spray. Okay, and then I'm going to put these little details in now. So it's just, I just push it in very gently, just to make it a little divot in it. Oops. There. I have brown mica on my thumb. So, oh, see, I just pulled it, I drug it. It never drag. Straight in, straight out. And you're gonna have cleaner details. Straight in, straight out. Those are actually too deep, but I'm trying to show you. there, there. I drug it a little bit. Straight in, straight out. There. Did you see that? These aren't cured, fully dried, and so they can mar very easily. All right, we'll leave that. And this one I have a little ding out of the corner. I didn't like that. And that one looks better, this faceways here. So we'll do that. Straight in, straight out. And yeah, you don't have to put these little details in. You can if you want. The more details you put into your work, the less likely somebody's going to copy exactly, because most people don't want to take that much time to do that, or they just get the idea. And I mean copy as in copy and take credit. Copying me, I don't care about. Copying and taking credit for the idea, that chaps my butt. But anyway, so here we go. I'm going to put the bind in it right here. I love books. I don't know about you guys. Do you guys like books? Like actual proper books. I have an ebook reader and I'm not very happy with it. It's okay. I mean, I'm reading 50 books right now that you want to read in your lifetime or some craziness, because it cost me 56 cents for the whole book. And I'm in the process of reading Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I read Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And I've been reading Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle. So, you know, I mean, from that perspective of not having a whole ton of books in your house is kind of awesome in one regard. As far as space, I've gotten rid of probably 5 libraries, you know, for a regular house, like a room full of books, easy in my life. And so I understand that. And there's always, you know, benefit and not benefit, but the part I don't like about having an ebook reader is that I can't go back, I can't thumb back very quickly or very easily and find something that I thought was really cool. Like if I have a proper book, a in real life book, I can highlight and things like that, which I enjoy quite a bit. And I love like flipping through a book that I'd already read and looking at what got my attention the first time around, and then being able to research quickly, because some of the books I dog tag their ears. I know lots of people don't like to do that, but I don't mind doing that, especially if I need to, you know, go back to a certain place. Caveman to Chemistry is one of my favorite books as far as a proper nonfiction book. And I got a lot of valuable soap information out of that book. And it's not a soap book. It's supposed to be the history of science, which I could hear like the influence of this person's bias as they were writing it. And I read past that and I learned a lot of stuff. And I just thought it was, you know, there's just a lot of, they use soap, which I found really interesting. They used soap a lot in their experiments in order to figure things out. You know, to get from the mental idea of it, you know, just calling everything ether. You know, it's just ether and they don't know what it is, but it's some sort of magical substance. And then realizing there was such a thing as gas, which they didn't realize that. And moving past the idea of phlogiston, which I love that word, phlogiston. They kind of used that as a placeholder for all the things that they knew was happening, but they didn't quite get. And they actually tried to make a theory around it, or a hypothesis around it. And so again, I think that was just a placeholder, and I forgive that very easily. I think that's awesome that somebody could, you know, go, yeah, I see something that's supposed to be there, I'm not quite sure what it is, so we're just going to call it phlogiston. And that, I'm giving you a loose definition of that, but whatever. Okay, so now this one is my favorite book of all time. That's why I kept it. I really like how so this soap dough here is uncolored soap dough. It's not white. So I've had trouble duplicating this because I don't usually make uncolored soap dough. And that was the issue with that. But I really like the shape of it. I like how it is. I like how the pages sort of lay out, you know, like a proper book. Maybe I can try that. So a lot of the stuff I make on accident, and I have to rethink it again and say, how in the heck did I do that? How did I do that? That's not too terrible. That kind of looks all right. That book might not, I might keep that for a really, oh, I have. I think I made that in 2015, you know. And I saw the other day in a group that people were saying, like, how long can you keep soap in beds and whatever, and then they started to quote somebody who copied me and then sent a bunch of people away from me because she didn't like me anymore because I did something she didn't like. And I was like, and now she's claiming that she's never read my books, or she's bought so much soap dough and books from me, it's ridiculous. And I just think people are ridiculous. I'm like, so I jumped in there and I said, you know, I can't say anything about this person. I won't even tell you all about this person. It bugs me, of course. I'm a human being. Well, I think I am. I'm not really sure. But it bugs me that people do that, and, you know, because they're jealous or petty in some capacity. And I don't want to be that person. So if I were to, you know, I don't want to be like that at all. So if I were to comment on it and say anything about it, of course I'd be like that person, petty. I don't want to be petty. And I can't help but acknowledge the fact that it bothers me, because I can't get over it if I don't acknowledge it. All I do is stuff it down, and I did that for a lot of years. I don't want to do that anymore. So, you know, and that's the weird thing I think about being a human being is if you're an evolving creature, you know, I'm not going to be this person next year, but I can't get to where I want to be unless I acknowledge where I'm at. It's sort of like you can't change the flat tire if you pretend it doesn't exist. So I acknowledge the fact that I am striving not to be petty, where maybe in the future I won't even have to strive. I'll just not be petty. I mean, and there's lots of stuff that I'm not petty about that other people are. I see and I go, oh yeah, that doesn't bother me at all. How did I get here? How did I get to this place? Mostly because I just say, you know, in the moment. There's a big difference between saying I'm angry and acting on being angry. Big difference. And I don't think a lot of people get that. Well, that's silly. I shouldn't say it like that. I don't think a lot of people get that. I think that the media perpetuates people that are petty. And that's my version of it, because the truth of the matter is I can go mostly to the grocery store unaccosted. And if that were the case, if people were petty, I would be accosted all the time. So I stand corrected by my own self, which I do daily, constantly correct myself. Course correct. You know, and that's the thing too, like, you need to be able to correct yourself. If you were out in the ocean, for example, see, I try to take all my theories and apply them to other things to see if they're true theories. So everything I say is just a working theory or working hypothesis for myself. But let me put this out there. If I were out in the ocean and my course was off for my boat where I wanted to end up going, right? Then I would course correct without hesitation, without ego, without anything. Why? Because I want to get where I'm going. I want to get in the direction I want to go. But, you know, human beings don't like to see themselves as needing course correcting. I constantly need course correcting. So here we go. We're going to do this. I'm going to course correct right now. So I'm going to do a couple different types. I thought I would try some silver as in gray. I haven't done that yet on a page. So let me put a little bit more in here because I want it watered down quite a bit. I'm basically just doing sort of a wash to it. And I almost said this is going to be too big, but no, this looks fine. I know it seems rather dramatic that I'm putting all this on here. So I'm thinking about like what an old book would look like, and the edges, the edges of the book are usually dirtier. And so, and then I want to soften it, so I just spray, try to get this off the center and soften the edges a bit because I don't want a line there. And if all else fails, do exactly what my art teacher in high school told me never to do, use my finger. I'm like, why? It's my best and favorite tool. Mr. Stivers, he's awesome. In high school, I was essentially living on the street to get through senior year. I got kicked out of my house for a lot of reasons, mostly because my parental guidance wasn't there. And so I was on my own. I think he kind of got, I was never dirty or anything. I had a job. I was only just barely 17. And I think he kind of got that I was pretty troubled. And but he didn't ever baby me, which I thought was cool. He really just, you know, let me be and do my life, you know, and supported me where he could. He encouraged me to go to college. That was, oh gosh, that was such a monumental thought. I couldn't even imagine. And I was told I was stupid my whole life. I couldn't go to college. There's no way. So I'm gonna let that dry and leave it be. I've obviously proven that wrong. That I'm stupid. I've been to 2 colleges and 2 universities. None of which really got me as much as what self-education did. So I'm painting brown on here now just to test it and see if I like it. And then we'll do that, soften it a bit. So I think I like gold in there, but the brown looks good too. So here's my litmus, and this is the one I did. I don't care for this. I like the fold over corner, but I don't care for how I left it. This one I like a lot more. And see, you can see this right here. Soften that a bit. Yeah, it's not like, this isn't one of these painting things that it's not one of these painting things that you can just do and, you know, like systematically necessarily do. You have to actually think about it a bit. So let's try this and see if this works any better. It's not as dark, maybe a layer of it. Layering it. I'm still going to put gold on there. Yeah, I don't think that's as helpful, but let's try it and give that a little spray. So, and then when I spray it, it sort of makes the edges bleed a bit. So that might, the silver on this page might actually do. Oh yeah, that looks kind of nice, huh? The brown. Kind of like that. See, that's where I put my nail in there. Nah, I'll leave it. Architectural detail. One of the things Mr. Stivers taught me, which I really have used the rest of my life, he was pretty awesome. He was a very fancy dresser, by the way, very fancy. I remember giving him grief about some plaid pants he wore one time, and he just took it on the chin. He didn't care. Like, this was back in the day where we just wore t-shirts and jeans to school. And anyway, he just took it on the chin. He just laughed at me because I was giving him grief about his plaid pants. And he was quite fancy in his dress. But he was an art teacher, so. Oh, what I was saying, yeah, I lost my train of thought. I was thinking about Mr. Stivers' pants, his plaid pants. He taught me about using contrast and making, if you think it's enough, do just a tick more in contrast, which is the opposite of when we do swirls. I can't even watch people make soap because it makes me crazy when they make them. They just go swirl, swirl, swirl. I just can't. I can't. I'm like, there's no plan. It bothers me so much. I want to say, wait, I'll draw a plan out for you. And yeah, I get that. I get that. I've done the same thing, and I'm still bothered by it when I do it. But anyway, yeah, if there's just a little bit, like, I like the contrast. The contrast is what gets our attention. That's what we're, like, when you're in the forest or you're out in nature, the contrast is what you see that gets your attention because it shows you the difference of things. There, that's not too bad. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see. That's not too bad. Let me try washing this with the gray again. This is why I don't show the painting, because I don't really, I don't really know what I'm doing until I see it. I think back about, like, I'm sure you all do, especially when I'm painting, I think back about things, and had I listened to my parents and said that I'm stupid and worthless and all that kind of stuff, and acknowledged the fact that they threw me out like a piece of trash, I could have turned out a lot different. But I decided that it wasn't true what they said. At some point, it was a struggle. It was such a struggle for lots of years. But I decided it wasn't true. And continued on my merry way. As if. But I did. And I questioned my reality a lot about whether or not how I saw the world was correct or not. And do you know that those family members stalked me? Not in a healthy way, not trying to be part of my life. Yeah, so I've kind of had to hide from them a bit. So me doing all these YouTube things, and it was a big deal. I know a lot of people don't think that it is, but for me it's a big deal. That's why I like the Patreon a lot better. I'm not afraid, by the way. I'm not afraid at all. I just think it's best to sometimes not poke the bear. A lion doesn't usually go up and poke a bear anyway, so there you have it. Because certainly they'd best not poke me. I'll take the offensive. That looks pretty antique-y, I think. And from a distance, again, they're just soaps. Let's see. See, and then I get too close to it and I'm like, I can't really see it anymore, so we'll leave that. And I think that the brown sort of looks better on here than the, I'm gonna try and antique this, but I think what I think I did this before is put red or pink on here. So let's put the gold on here instead. I'm not going to do all these because you already get the general idea. Sort of guess and keep layering and keep layering. So I wanted to show you how I did this. So this is Maya gold. It's really nice, like for this abundance of gold. So I take this, instead of trying to dip that in there, I take this and stick it in there. Sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. There we go. And if I let it dry, then it doesn't bleed so bad. So I didn't like the silver in there. It looks just like dirty or something. The gold looks a little bit nicer. Antique is different than dirty looking, right? Okay. That looks okay from a distance. Let me see. Yeah, this sort of like, that's been bouncing around my drawer a long time, you could tell. See, this is what I used some pearlized pink, maybe twisted berry on this. It's okay. It's all right. Let's see what else I have here. Yeah, see, this is why I wanted to avoid using, putting the bookmark on, because when I painted it, I got it on the bookmark and it made it less clear. So I'll put bookmarks on here and show you what those look like. And then, of course, you could put the bookmark in if you want to make them and put them inside of here, because you just saw how that was made. So, or even just glue it to the top. You don't even have to put it all the way through if you don't want to. But anyway, I wanted to get this out there so you could see what the process was as far as making these little books. Now, these can be scaled, of course. And I've made bar size books, which I've, you know, that's a whole nother story, but yeah, I made bar size books, novel books and fairy books and all those kind of things. And so you can make them hand size. So I made mine 3-4 ounces, I think. So that's a regular size bar soap. And you just scale it up. Instead of rolling the bar out, you just cut the pages out off the loaf, and just and then roll the pages out and wrap it around. Same theory. So I hope this helps. Hope you like my little storytelling, my little musings about things. And leave me a comment. Don't leave me a comment. It's all up to you. Okay, thanks.